Ooh, welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Dr. Chi Chi. I am so grateful to be sharing this important season with everyone out there who's going to watch our live stream. I am grateful for you guys because it's Women International Month. I'm so happy and proud of my sisters that are on this panel today, taking out their time to share something that's important to the family and important to many families out there. We're super grateful to welcome Dr. Florida Santana Jonas, to welcome my wonderful sister from Michigan, Lanetta, Nashay, and finally, Hilda Martin-Suggs. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Very nice to have you ladies here. I'm so grateful to be your host today. And we're going to move quickly into introductions. I would love to first call up Dr. Florida Santana Jonas. She hails from NY, New York in the house. You guys in New York talk different. You know, you can't shake people in New York. They just got different swag. I thank you so much for joining us and for gracefully taking your time. Please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, a little bit about yourself, and why this topic is something that is dear to your heart.
Well, thank you for having me, Dr. Chi Chi, and the rest of the panelists. It's my honor to be here with you and to be able to pour into the lives of the listeners. And I am trusting that the things that we're going to share today, they'll be able to come back and share with other people and get some resources. As mothers, we're mother bears, right? Before we are wives, before we're successful business women, which we're all, in a different space and dominant our space, we're first moms, right?
Right.
And so what brings me here, I could talk about all the accolades and other things that I do and other things. Those are things that I do. But who I am, aside from God's child, is my son's mom, right? And so what's dear to me and something that I will continue to speak out about is that, one, to be better prepared as parents, to know where to get the information to make sure that we protect our kids, okay, where we can advocate for our kids, what's happening the proper way. Oftentimes we react to situations because we don't know what's going on because we're so distracted with, what some celebrity is doing or whatever. And they're passing these laws and what have you that are going to impact us one way or another. And so we can intercept those laws from being passed if we're aware of them and we come together and we advocate and we go out there and speak to our Congress people and our assemblymen and what have you. And so I learned that the hard way, okay, because my son was wrongly accused of a sexual assault in college, and it just turned our lives upside down, right? So I had to learn real quickly and get out of my feelings and use my feelings appropriately and learn what was really going on and how to operate in that space to not only get my son out of prison within 24 hours, right? But it took 2 years to resolve the matter in a manner that we can live with without it being sexually involved because it had nothing to do with that. But oftentimes we don't know. Okay. And so I share two links with you so that you can keep aware of what laws are impacting our kids in school. There's a Title IX that's being changed and revamped, and we need to be we need to be aware of what that law is and what they're trying to revamp it to, because it pretty much just strips you of your due rights, okay, due process rights. So that link is there. There's a organization called Families Advocating for Campus Equality. They are a great source, and I know Ms. Suggs is going to be sharing more sources as well. But they're a great source. There's other families who have been impacted as well with their kids in school, so they will serve as a good support source for parents, a good support source for kids, but also a lot of resources of what's been happening in the space for years and how to advocate for your kids. So that's why I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to move quickly to my dear sister, Lanetta. Lanetta has been I've known you for what, 16 years. It's a long time that we've been sisters from Michigan. So please, can you introduce yourself? She has a background in the mental health industry, and tell me a little bit about your connection as well to the title of our topic today.
My name is Sorry, my name is Lanetta. My background story is that my son was taken away from me as a kickback. He was taken away from me at 15 years old as a kickback. It took about a year and a half for me to get him back with great advice. I had my sister Florida sat back and, led me because she had just been through it as I was going through it. So I had to fight with the state of Michigan, the school districts, things like that to bring him home. But I was able to accomplish that. And so that's a piece of my story. I am a mental health advocate for 20 years in the state. Yeah,
That's pretty much it. That's
pretty
yeah,
much
that's
it.
more than enough, sis. Because your story when you called me, I was just like, what? And that speaks to what mothers. Again, we talked about something on the back of the show before we came on board. What mothers have to go through to carry the task, the important task that is being gifted to us. This is a gift that we have as mothers to nurture our children and to be there regardless. And we're there till they're 90. And Women's Day, I saw a lot of mothers children taking pictures of their moms. It's just amazing what women have to do. But I'm grateful that you're here. I'm going to move forward to our wonderful sister, Miss. I'm going to be calling you a different name soon. So are you getting engaged or getting married on the 16th? You're getting engaged, right?
I'm getting married.
Oh, it's the wedding, actually. You sent me the invitation for the. Oh, sorry. I done told you now. Sorry, you didn't get a private invite to her, but I was like, I need RSVP this weekend, and I was just like, what? I hadn't RSVP'd yet, so I'm so grateful. But welcome up, and please introduce yourself. You guys have to read her bio. Miss Hilda Martin-Suggs. Introduce yourself and tell us why this topic is relevant and very important to you.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Hilda Martin-Suggs. I made history January 8th, 2020 for creating a youth mitigation program and for being the first mitigation investigator to ever work in a district attorney's office, specializing in the bills, Senate Bill 440 and Senate Bill 441 for our youth from the ages of 13 to 17 years old who are facing life sentences as adults. And what derived me into becoming the leader I am today. Prior to that, I was in the beauty and the performing arts industry for over 20-something years. My son, who was 14 years old at the time, he's about to be 23 years old now, but he was 14 years old at the time. He was accused of a rape that he didn't commit. So what I had to do was give my life to Yahweh. Not only give my life to Yahweh, I had to change my entire career and transition into the criminal justice and civil rights field to save my son from a life sentence. And not only my son from a life sentence, he was facing 75 years if convicted. So it was his co-defendants. And not only that I saved them from a life sentence, I have saved many youth from life sentences. And that's just a brief. I'm also the former criminal justice chairwoman over this entire state of Georgia for the NAACP. I wrote the entire criminal justice agenda for the NAACP, which they pushing it on a national level to this day. And I'm also one of the leaders that was behind my RB case as well. And I mean, I have many more accolades, but that's just to give you a brief about me.
Wow, this is like, that is so, wow. Yeah. So you've seen stuff. You have seen stuff and you have heard stuff. That's why we're here today. We're here to talk about the stuff. And I hope that the topics I sent out this week made sense. When I sent it to you, Ms. Martin-Suggs, I was looking for that feedback. I was waiting to say, oh, this is great. And you said thumbs up for the questions you're asking, but I don't have experience. I don't have, thank God, I don't have a background in this, but the youth is so dear to me. It is so important that we, many ways, have a passion to save our youth, whether it's our children or not, right? But if you're my sister, you know, the way I grew up in Africa, other people's mom whooped me. Like, they were not
Yeah.
letting me do nothing out here in these streets. If they saw me somewhere, they would be like, wait, so if I call you my sister, then I need to care what happens to your child. It
That's
shouldn't be
right.
this situation, which is why when the topic came up, I was talking to a family member and they were going through stuff. I knew this event had to happen, and it had to happen during Women's Month because it is not one of the fancy topics I normally do. It's not, oh, let's get you into acting school and performing school and let's get you to learn how to sing and dance. It's more of, whoa, somebody's in trouble, and here we can come as a community to join hands and talk about and have discussions that matter. So I'm going to go quickly into our first question. And everybody received the question. And the question goes as so: what are some of the new laws affecting our children? And I'd like to start with you, Dr. Florida. What are some of the new federal laws that parents should watch out for should they have children that are either going through it in the system or, you know, get in trouble?
Well, I'm curious to hear Miss Suggs. What's going to be your new married name? What's it going to be, Miss Suggs?
It's going to be Israel, but I will still be doing business as Hilda Martin-Suggs because this name, not only that it holds weight and is powerful, this is one, like, even if you look me up, this is the name that I've been going by for 8 years straight, nonstop. My for many years, because that's my former marriage name, Suggs, but Martin is my maiden. So it's like I still have to do business as this name. So I will be changing to my husband's name, which is Israel, which he's a Hebrew Israelite. So, but I'll still be doing business as Hilda Martin-Suggs.
All right. Well, I thank you. So I'm very curious as to your answer to this question because you're in the trenches. I approach it from kind of a 30,000 viewpoint. I'm very adamant about the Title IX and the changes that are going on there and what they're proposing to do. So that's kind of where I've kind of spent a lot of time in, only because when it happened to my son, he was in college and they violated his Title IX rights and things of that nature. And they're just revamping the law. They're trying to revamp the laws to make it even more difficult. And like I said earlier, strip due process for whether, and it happens to girls also. It's not just boys, right?
Yeah.
And so it happens to girls and it happens to boys where they're falsely accused. But I think the Title IX law is important to know what's happening so that we can advocate. What they're trying to do, and I'll pull it up real quickly. I'm not going to pull it. I'm just going to share some pointers that I wrote down earlier, if you don't mind, real quickly. I know we said we're going to be quick. I don't think we're going to be quick because this is an important topic. Sorry.
It's a very important topic. We're just gonna, we have about 57 people live with us, which is a good number.
Let's give them
promoted as well as I should, but I'm grateful that it's doing something. Thank you all for sharing. This is such an important topic because it's not just happening here; it's all over, and it's not just. It's not it affects moms, it affects dads, it affects siblings, it affects the school system, it affects teachers, it affects their future. So there's just so much that youth incarceration affects, right? The mindset of the child, how they're treated, especially these laws that say 17-year-olds could be treated as adults. I want to get to that later, but it's like, what? And I'm not saying that some of the crime these youth commit are not worthy of it, but that's why we're here to discuss it. So, Florida, you're ready?
Yeah. So the expanding of the Title IX, what it does, it removes the presumption of innocence. So you're innocent until you're proven guilty, right? That's standard law, but it removes that presumption. All right. And so I don't know, parents who are going through a hearing process with the school and what have you, you find that's kind of a kangaroo court. for lack of a better word, right? So it removes that presumption of innocence. It removes any cross examination from a hearing. So you don't get to advocate for yourself. People are saying you did this, you did this, you did this, and you don't get to advocate for yourself. So it doesn't, so you're kind of stuck in a situation where your rights are taken away, and you don't have a way to, again, advocate for yourself and say, hey, let's provide proof. Like, don't judge me. Don't immediately cast me away based on what someone said without any proof and without me having the ability to prove otherwise. Okay. It also has like a transgender component in it. So if you misgendering of someone, you can be punished for that. Okay. And that's a tough one. I mean, like, they're getting really, really, really tough, because sometimes, you don't know what to say. You don't grow up as a kid saying, he, she, whatever, whatever someone wants to be called. It's not something that is, whether it's part of your culture, whether it's part of your religion, like all these things are just strip away, and you say, okay, it's going to be only one way, and that's it. And if you don't do it that way, then you're going to be punished, where you could be expelled. You could, and once you're expelled from a school, it's very difficult to get back into another school. Like, people don't realize that the significant, the impact of getting expelled, the impact of being arrested. My son was arrested and put it all on social media, right? And it was based on a false accusation, but it still to this day impacts him. Whereas he was applying for a job, he went through this whole licensing process and applying for the job, and the job came back, says, back then you were accused of this, so you need to take all this information from Google out, okay? And when you cleared up your name and things on Google, then we could hire you. I mean, it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving that you don't want. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, we got to be kind of ahead of these things and know what's coming down the pike and understand the impact, that it's not just immediate. It's an impact that will follow them forever. So far it feels like forever, because we're still fighting, like, okay, how do we address this? Now we have to address this. And like, every time that it brings its head up again, and we're like, okay, like, what now? Like, what's the problem now? Like, oh, well, back then they accused you of this and it was on Google, and therefore we can't hire you.
Wow.
Right. Right. So
Yeah, and your son was an athlete, right? So he was a celebrity for a kid.
he was in a Division I school. He, in a Division I school, basketball player. That's it. He's not a celebrity. It's just that he was in a big school, Division I school. That's all.
Yeah. It's a celebrity in their status in terms of playing basketball, and he lost all that, the scholarship, all that.
So he never got to play again. That was done. So all his years of training, whatever, was done. We had a very difficult time getting him back into colleges. Most colleges wouldn't accept him. So we had to get him back into community college so he could get some credits and what have you. But it was very difficult. And basketball was off the table. It was not to happen ever again.
So was he exonerated?
So in New York, so these are the things that people need to know about laws. In New York, at the time, they had these discovery laws. Okay, so over 98% of cases in New York at the time were pled. And the reason they were pled, which means that people would take a plea deal. The reason people would take a plea deal, because the prosecutor could not be compelled to show the evidence. All right. So what are you, like, what am I defending? Like, you're not telling me what is your case against me? What evidence do you have to show that I did what you said that I did? Like, and you didn't have that opportunity to get that evidence. All right. So all they say, hey, listen, you either take this plea or you're going to face 25 to life. Okay. Those are the options. So most of the cases in New York at the time people would just take a plea deal because they're like, I don't know how to defend myself.
That's why I created the youth mitigation program.
Absolutely.
To eliminate that, because some of the youth, they do commit the crimes, right? Mm-hmm. But do they deserve a life sentence? No. Do they deserve mandatory 10, which is the SB 441? No. But now the ones that didn't commit the crimes, which I would say I assisted with exonerating one youth from a rape, and also exonerating my son and his co-defendants from a rape. But
Mhm.
based on the evidence, it went from rape to attempt rape based
Mhm.
on it's a long story pertaining to that with his co-defendants, how everything happened and transpired with that, which I'm not going to get into detail with that today because it's way too long to be trying to discuss that. And
Right.
that's why I'm writing a book. And that's why the book could be transitioning from a book into a TV series or maybe a movie.
Well,
But that's why I created a program so youth won't feel like they forced into having to take a plea deal
right.
or having a bad type of representation. And that's what myself and my organization does. We work between prosecution and defense. So nobody can play you. The prosecutor can't, the
Mhm.
judge can't, your
Mhm.
defense attorney can't, because we're not going to allow them to.
Right. So I will tell you, with my son's situation, they had accused him of a sexual, assault, and the plea deal that we ended up taking was trespassing. Mm.
So my organization also assists with second chance employment too.
Yeah.
We also have other partners that we partner with that's like AAU team, basketball travel
Mhm.
teams. If you want to
Right.
get involved in football,
Yeah.
boxing, excuse me, any type of sports. So that's why the organization, I created a all male organizations for the youth boys and the young men, but we still help the youth girls and the young women too.
Right.
So that's something we could probably talk about once we get each other contact information. Then
Right.
you can give me more details of where you and your son is at now and what needs that you guys need assistance with.
Right. I mean, again, it's knowing how to advocate, knowing, in my experience, um, you have to advocate, you have to know the laws, you have to get out of your feelings, use your feelings correctly because we get all in our feelings, right? And stand your ground, and not be afraid to stand your ground, because to go from a sexual, you know, accusation of 25 years to life to trespassing was not an easy feat, right?
Mhm.
Okay, we had to take a plea deal, but it wasn't going to be anything that had to do with sexual assault because there was nothing that he did to this girl, right? So we had to take a deal, but that was the only thing because I read the case. Okay, you got to read the case, and I'm like, okay, this is the only two things that they agree upon.
I know what you're talking about, and we could talk more about it, and I can assist you with how to clean up your son case so it'll be like he never took a plea or a crime.
That's
So
what we want.
once we get off of here,
Yeah,
we're going to allow Dr. Chi to move forward with the program. We
yeah,
could
I
share
love that.
contact information uh,
Yes.
with expungements and pardons. So he'll
beautiful.
be okay.
There we go.
Okay, do you want to take on that question? What are some of the new laws affecting our children? Miss Martin,
Okay.
do you want to take that
So
question?
these laws that I'm about to speak on today is not like quite like new. So these laws was basically passed in 1994, which our current president Joe Biden assisted with this law to be in place and to get it signed. By the way, a lot of people don't know that. So the reason why our youth who are 13 and 17 years old could be charged as an adult for these specific crimes, which is rape, murder, aggravated child molestation, aggravated sexual battery, aggravated sodomy, armed robbery with a deadly weapon, and also voluntary manslaughter. Even if they're with the youth and they don't know that they're about to commit that crime, our youth still can be facing this as a conspiracy as they did the crime. Joe Biden was the one that put these laws in place, by the way, just to let you know. So that's
Mhm.
the Senate Bill 440 and the Senate Bill 441. So all of the seven deadly sins, which is Georgia's seven deadly sins that I just named, that falls under the Senate Bill 440. So now with the Senate Bill 441, if any of your youth is with someone who is, if they're convicted of one of these charges, or with somebody who commits one of these charges and they don't call law enforcement when it's happening, they will actually fall under the SB 441 if they go to trial, meaning you can get the mandatory life sentence. With rape, they can add a consecutive, meaning you're facing already 25 years. They can add another 25 years, and then they can add another 25 with aggravated assault. So that's what a lot of families don't know about. This is why I travel and I educate the families on this for many years now, and I will continue to do this, and I would love to do it on the international level, because even if they're not even if the different states and the countries is not have these laws, the SB 440 and SB 441 in place, they're still charging our youth with these charges, okay? And they're still facing life sentences for this. And if you don't have the right advocate for it, you can be facing that. So with the SB 441, if your youth is convicted of these crimes, it's mandatory 10. They have to do 10 years before they become eligible with the possibility of parole. Meaning a lot of families don't know this. And the reason why I know, because I've been in this field for 8 years, once they become incarcerated, if they have good behavior, like not joining gangs, it's hard to not join gangs because they choose you, or you need some type of safety. So you join the Bloods, you join the Crips, you join the gangsters, you join the vice lords for safety. But now you put yourself in a situation that if you get that 12 do 20 or that 10 do 20 years, you got to do 10 years at the door. If you being bad in the prison, now you don't become eligible pick. If you become eligible pick, even if you get 10, 12 years, a lot of the youth and the men and the women too, and the youth girls don't know Department of Corrections will cut your time in half. All you have to do is, once you get inside of the prison, be good, take advantage of their programs, you can become eligible pick, and they'll cut your time in half. So a lot of families don't know that as well. And now I also specialize in eliminating school to prison pipeline. So I'm big on the FERPA laws too. So this is what our families need to know in order to save our babies. You have to know that whatever you say to the principal, whatever you say, it could be a minor situation, right? And our youth trust in this teacher, this coach, a student, or the principal. Now they're in the office speaking to our kids because the FERPA law allows them to speak to our youth without us present. We as parents have to educate our youth. You have a right to remain silent. If the principal, your coach, your teacher, your friend want to ask you something where you being allegedly accused of something, say, call my mama or call my attorney. So I've educated several criminal justice and civil rights classes at the high school in Gwinnett County. And I'm in a process, my organization, we're about to get this started back up, where we plan to be not only in the schools throughout the entire state of Georgia, but throughout the United States as well. So I actually created a whole curriculum and a program to not just educate the youth, but the families too. So we have to educate our youth on the laws. They have to remain silent. If not, whatever you tell that principal, if you got a school resource officer, or the principal have to call the police or anything, now it's turned to a case. Now it's outside of the school now. And because your child didn't keep quiet in their own recording, now they're facing a crime. And they don't even know it, because scientifically proven our babies is not fully developed until they're 25 years old. And even at 25, depending on their upbringing, they're still not developed.
Wow.
So hopefully that answered y'all question. This not really no new laws. It's just you need to know your constitutional rights. You have a right to remain silent, and you have a right to not be searched. They need a probable cause to search you. That when they search you without a warrant, they have to be sure that what they searching for is really in your pocket or your bag, or that's a lawsuit. And I know that for a fact because of my experience and also my background of my education of graduating from the Detective Academy, and also obtaining some credentials with the Police Academy, so I can know what the law enforcement can and cannot do. And also because I specialize in police brutality cases too, and injustice. And also I've trained with hundreds of prosecutors throughout the state of Georgia. So this is why I know this is a fact.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is absolutely amazing what knowledge will do for families that need this kind of information to help them with, youth incarceration. So the second question, I think Dr. Florida already added value to that when she said, where should parents go to find help? But I'd like to just go around the room to see if anyone wants to drop any website. We dropped 2 already. Florida dropped them early before we even started. So if anyone wants to just talk about their experience or websites, general websites that parents should go to, should you have a youth incarceration issue? Let's just take a minute or two and go around the room to answer that question. Then we'll go into our, next one, our next question.
Okay, you can reach out to my organization. I am the founder and the CEO and the president of the organization Almost Lost in the System Incorporated, and the website is www.almostlostinthesystem.org, and send us a message via through our chat bot, and it comes directly to our emails where we can receive your complaint.
Perfect. Florida, you already dropped the sites. I'm going to go quickly to the next question. Lanetta, do you have anything to add to that? Any sites that helped you when you were dealing with your case?
I just looked all over. Like okay. Mine was more writing letters and senators and mine was basically writing a whole lot of letters and sending a lot of information off about my son's case, about his innocence in his case.
Yeah, I remember when she reached out to me. One of the things that I think is important was this mother, she called me and she said, I was trying to get on channel 2 or channel 6. They won't take my video. Can you do a video? And she came over to my house. We set it up. I have a youth media training program that teaches youth media. So my son, who was in the program, was able to set up the equipment, the camera. We shot. We asked questions, we edited, we put that information out there, and it helped. I'm telling you, you gotta be, as a mother, you gotta be hungry to want your son or your kid or your daughter out. And you will find a way and a will. And then, of course, I need Dr. Florida. She's my sister on our platform, Fearless Visionaries, where she wrote a book about her trauma going through helping her son. And as soon as I connected both of them, he was out in 90 days. Just how powerful. And they were trying to give him a whole nother year. I remember coming into court with my phone, trying to get all the background information, trying to turn my phone on, just trying to find out what happened in court. She would call me and say, we're going to court today. And I would literally leave everything I'm doing, show up at court, pull up, have my phone ready. And it was just all these mistakes they were making with her case that, it was like obvious that something was wrong. And thank God for mercies and the right connection. I'm going to go quickly to my next question, which is, what are some of the key things for parents to observe while dealing with underage cases? So I say this for what I just said about what Lanetta was going through. She was observing the issues, the problems. The law said this, but this is what they did with my son. The law said this, but this is what they did with my son. What are some of the key things that parents should be observing dealing with youth incarceration topic?
I think one of the biggest things is you have to know your child and you have to listen to your child. You have to know and be able to decipher what is being said and what is not being said and what needs to be said. I mean, because like my child was lied on. It was a complete lie. I had to pull up the police reports. I had to pull up the police video calls. I had to pull up all that type of stuff. And I had to present that to the judge in order for them to see like, no, you're wrong. And this is a kickback. You're just doing this because, he's a child that y'all can't really control when he's out here because he's being a kid, But I really had to just go that route with it. And then I had to send that information to the judges and I just kept pressing it. But you have to really listen to your child, because I asked mine, did you say, because he was arrested because they say he threatened to shoot up the school. First of all, that should have made the news. That should have been all over the news. A kid is out of school. But during the police call, the guy was like, he's in class, he's not doing anything. But you don't do that with a child that's that's just throwing the shoe up to school, or whatnot. But that was not what he had said. That's what a teacher had said that he had said from something because he said everyone should wear blue. He was like, everybody should wear blue tomorrow. And so when he said that, it got taken from a teacher who said she seen something on Facebook, which is in the police report, that, that it was a threat to shoot up the school. And they ran with it. They ran with it for 15 months.
Wow.
They ran with it.
But
I asked him, I said, did you say that? He said, Mommy, the only thing I said is everybody should wear blue tomorrow. I said, well, why did you say that? They sent him to a psych hospital. They sent him to different places because of what he had said. And I said, well, why did you say that? He said, because everybody's wearing blue today, so everybody should wear blue tomorrow. And tomorrow this happened on a Friday. Tomorrow happened to be a Saturday.
So it's not like they were even coming to school. He just said that.
He just said that. He was like, it's like me speaking to you and Florida and Miss Suggs. If I say we should all wear pink tomorrow, I shouldn't be arrested and detained because I said that. I'm talking to my people. So you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, right. But it just transpired. But it was all about a kickback because you don't get arrested for saying stuff like that. And then a Caucasian male had said the same thing and went to the school with a gun. And he was getting less things thrown at him than my child was.
Wow. Well, we know that that's happening with, racial disparities. Like we know that's a topic. That's a different topic for a different. Right now, we're talking to parents with any child of any color, because we know that there's an enemy, and the enemy is attacking our children. So whether we like it or not, we have a common general enemy, and we want to save our children by putting the right information out there.
Yes.
Florida, do you want to take in that question? What are some of the key things to pay attention to, or parents to pay attention to when this kind of issues they're having youth incarceration with their family or in their home?
Well, if they're dealing with, and Ms. Suggs, I'm sure we'll elaborate even further. What I found in my situation, it didn't matter, because I remember sitting down with his attorney and saying, okay, great, when the rape kit comes back, they'll see that they're not going to find his DNA on her, in her, nothing. Okay. So then this case should just go away. They should just drop the charges and we go our merry way. He goes back to school and everything's lovely. Right. And he's like, no. And I said, what do you mean no? And he's like, because, and I say this to say because people have to understand the agenda. Okay. The prosecutor at the time was in the height of the Me Too movement. And he was, running for re-election, and the person running against him was a woman who was, very heavily into that, Me Too movement. And there was no way, with the reputation that the school had at the time and what was happening at the time, that the prosecutor was going to drop the case, even if there was no evidence. And that was shocking to me. I was like, what do you mean? Like, that makes no sense. Okay. That made absolutely no sense. So when I got, when I wrapped my head around the reality that, no one cared about my son but me, and that everybody has their own personal agenda, right, as to why they're doing what they're doing, and they don't care, and they're going to use their power to the fullest for their own agenda, then I was able to prepare myself to get the resources that I needed to do to fight. Okay. But it wasn't going to be because he was, because there was no evidence, because he didn't, he said the truth all along that he didn't do anything to this girl. It was not going to get him off.
Wow.
And so that's something that we have to wrap our heads around, oftentimes, because we don't. We just think it's wrong, and as long as we can provide the proof, then it goes away. No, it took 2 years for it to be resolved, so it doesn't go away. And they're not going to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. If it doesn't fit their agenda, they're not going to do the right thing. That's just my experience. What do you think, Ms. Suggs?
Okay, so if I repeat the question, are you asking me to answer what do we need to watch for our youth incarcerated?
Yes, if you have a youth that's incarcerated, what are some of the key things that, like she mentioned, she was paying attention to the fact that even though the rape kit came back, you know, she was waiting. Okay, the rapist is gonna come back. He didn't do it, and even though it came back, they still carried on with the case.
So my advice to any family, their youth is incarcerated, you need to pay attention to their mental health. You have to watch what you say to this youth. I've been in the prisons, like in their cells where these youth boys at. I've mentored some of the most gruesome gang members, from the Bloods to the Crips, all of them. Okay, and they make weapons in there. They're going through a lot in there. They lose their mental health. Like now, my son, for a warden to tell me with the prison my son is incarcerated in now, my son is probably the only one that's not on medicine. Let me tell y'all why. Because the entire time my son, Dariah Mitchell, became incarcerated at 14 years old, I have not missed a visit. Even though before he got set up and got in his situation, wrong place at the wrong time, I talked to Dariah every day. I said, Dariah, you spoil, you get whatever you want. You don't need to hang with gang members or no bad boys. I didn't move to Georgia for you to do this. You don't have to skip school. You're very intelligent. He skipped school every day, being bad with these kids his freshman year. And even though I was upset at him and he became incarcerated, I never left Dariah's side. Not only did I never left Dariah's side, I changed my entire life, not only for my child, but for everybody else's children. So we have to learn to sacrifice. We know that constantly we talk to our youth girls and boys, even if they're not listening to us, we still have to support them. Even with some youth boys or girls who commit suicide, even though this is a bit off subject, for when they become gay, we don't beat them down, even if we spiritual parents, because it's mental health. That's like the most important. Once you lose that, you have nothing. My son has never been on medication. He was in confinement. I put him in confinement for 2 years because the Bloods was trying to murder him. My son been in confinement. I just took him out maybe 3 months ago because he's about to get out in May. They're releasing him May 25th.
We're gonna celebrate with you.
We're gonna
yes, y'all will be invited because he's having a coming home party. He will be speaking. He'll be a part of the organization. It's been a long time coming. But what I'm gonna say is, and it's not me judging because it's hard. So every parent can't do what I did. So that's why you have my organization to assist you with that. If you can't be that parent to stand in for your child during their incarceration, you reach out to organizations. I'm sorry about that, you guys. You reach out to organizations like mine or many others that can assist you with that. But your mental health is like the most important. You have to watch out for it. Because if they feel like they don't have a support system, I'm going to just briefly state this. My son thought about killing himself before they came and got him. I told him, no, you're not about to do that. He's telling my mama, but you just said that's going to be a life sentence. And I'm telling you, I didn't rape that girl. I said, I know I didn't raise a rapist. I said, and we're going to fight this all the way, but I'm not about to let you kill yourself. I said, but they about to come get you. So tell me everything you want to eat, and we're going to drive every place you want to eat. I said, because I don't know how long you're going to be in there. And I don't know when they're going to let you out and when the next time you can eat outside food. I said, but just know I'm not going to leave your side. So with the youth to know that they have a parent or a support system that's there before they going in when they facing this, or while they in there and when they coming out, it means everything to them. So to just hear from a warden and tell me my son never been on no mental health medicine or none of that, and that they feel like I'm one of the best parents ever, and it took a lot. I had to sacrifice.
Of course.
I'm not going to get into more detail about it, but I had to really sacrifice a lot because my back was up against the rope too, where I felt like I reached out to everybody before Channel 2 took my son's case, which is Nicole Carr. She took it first. I reached out from to the Muslims, everybody. The NAACP, everybody. I became homeless, lost everything, slept in my car. I paid 3 attorneys $30,000. My son was still facing a life sentence. So that's why I became the leader I am today. I will remain the leader I am today until I don't have breath in me. And I will continue to fight for our youth, not only in the state of Georgia, but everywhere. But that's my advice to everyone that's listening. You cannot give up on your youth. I don't care how pissed you are at them, because it's hard, and them prisons is horrible. I seen it. And then not only that I seen it, my son been in 6 different prisons, okay? So I had the opportunity to speak to other youth and adult men and help other men and youth boys, and to hear to hear their stories. I could say this because I'm not revealing no name. It was men that was sexually assaulted. It was youth boys that was sexually assaulted. Every parent don't have what I have. I had to create a whole system for my son from the outside. I had to help guards get hired. I had to befriend the warden on down so my son won't get raped in prison because of the way he looked. And not only the way he looked, because of his charges, they rape you in there. So I had to literally be like, let me do this, let me do that, so I can have people on the inside keeping eyes on my child to keep him from being assaulted. But I couldn't keep the gangs away from him because it's like even the guards are afraid of the gangs. So the Crips did get to my son. But when the Crips got to him and they initiated him, I put him right in protective custody because you're not getting mine. So I'm not saying every parent have to be just like me, but it's some measures and some sacrifices that we have to take in order for our youth to become successful and to obtain their mental health. So I hope I answered the question.
You did. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's so important to that you guys all kind of said the same things, like paying attention to your child and what they need at the time. So the final question I have is, what are some of the things parents should be doing to overcome self-doubt? Some parents can easily give up. It's not that they want to, they just get tired. The journey just becomes, it's nice to be sitting with a group of mothers that just, oh yeah, rah-rah and fought, but not everybody can rah-rah and fight. So what do you recommend for them to deal with self-doubt? Because we know when you believe you can do anything, you can achieve. They say it's easy to say, but self-doubt is a big destructive force when it comes to things that you told them don't do it, and then they went and did it. Mm-hmm. And now they're facing all these things, and some people, the kid didn't even do anything, right? But just you not having to keep giving yourself all the pep talks. What are y'all recommending? Because I didn't even know about your story, Ms. Martin-Suggs, but I'm so grateful that you shared with us. But imagine me this dropping in my spirit to do this event and not knowing that I met her for the first time. I spoke with her over the phone, or I think via text, but I met you for the first time a week and a half ago at this Sue event. So I didn't know you prior to this, but this is one of the events I was going to do in March. So to meet you and then to ask you to come on board, to just come as someone to share your organization, not even knowing your backstory, is powerful. So please, let's talk about what parents do to encourage themselves in this time when they're dealing with youth incarceration.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. And even though I was going to share this part in my book, the Spirit is leading me to share this with y'all. So when my back was up against the rope and I felt like I didn't have nobody, but I knew I still had Yahweh, right? And I had to sacrifice a lot, like my sex life and everything, which basically I could say that's probably the only sin I was really doing, was having sex with someone without being married. So I had to sacrifice that and everything. And I had this life insurance policy. I remember giving these first 2 Black women that I got from the NAACP, I gave them the last $5,000. It added up to $20,000. And they told me, they called me, they said, Miss Mitchell, well, you know, they call me Miss Mitchell because my son's name is Darius Mitchell. They would say, well, there's nothing else we could do for your son. You got to take a plea for rape for 20-12, and he have to register for the rest of his life. I'm not going to tell y'all what I said to them, but what I am going to state is I stated this part, so I'm gonna state the professional part. I said, so y'all mean to tell me y'all took $20,000 from me, and my son DNA came back 3 times negative. 3.
Yep.
No proof of penetration and nothing to this girl. I got the full discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all telling me my baby who's 14 years old, who never had sex, have to take a plea deal, and I just paid y'all $20,000. I lost everything, slept in my car. I went from 250 pounds. I'm 125 pounds from not eating to pay y'all. And you telling me my son facing a life sentence? I went to my pastors, and this what saved me. Yahweh saved me through my pastors. I was about to kill myself. And the reason I was about to kill myself, because they was another attorney that I went to told me I needed more money, that he would take the case. And I knew he was one of the top attorneys in this state that can help me because I didn't have a bar number. I did all the investigations and everything. And I did everything I could present. And I just knew that because I didn't have a bar number, I needed a lawyer that can actually stand up and represent us. Because every time I would go into court, I never missed a court date. The judge was, he was like to the point where he wouldn't let me speak, to the point where I will force it out because I was an activist at the time, that he'd be about to arrest me and I didn't care. Because I'm like, I know my son didn't rape this girl. So I went to my pastors at Victory Hamilton Mill out in Beaufort, Georgia. And their wives and they were sitting with me. I said, I got a life insurance policy. I said, I need $10,000 to get this attorney. And I'm gonna take my life because it would give my son. I said, I felt like I lived long enough that I was willing to sacrifice my life to save his. And the reason why I didn't kill myself, because the pastors was like, Miss Suggs, if you kill yourself to give your son a life insurance policy, they're not gonna get it because the policy, they don't pay for if you commit suicide. So now I'm like, dang, now what I'm gonna do? Because that's the only reason I was thinking about ever taking my life, to save my son's life. So now my back up against the wall, some members from the NAACP, which is India Sims, and my current, one of my board of directors, which is Miss Toy Hines. They said, we're going to get you in a meeting with Attorney Gerald Griggs. I don't know if y'all know who he is, but you could Google him. We get you in this meeting with him. They never told me they had 2,000 of the 10. These 2 women never told me this. But I just kept praying and I kept manifesting and I kept saying, I know you hear me, God. You got to save my baby. I've been doing all of this for people, working pro bono and helping. I've sacrificed my sex life, everything. I'm celibate. I was celibate for like 2 years, fighting my son's case, turning down men left or right just to save my son. And bam, we get in the office. I presented the discovery to Attorney Gerald Griggs. He said, you need to be a lawyer. And I said, maybe. I said, but right now, I'm an investigator. I just ain't got the credentials yet. And this was at the time where I didn't have it. This was like in 2018, before my baby took the plea deal for attempt rape, because of his co-defendants tried to put it all on him. They messed up the whole case, these babies. That's why I know their mind, besides scientifically, is not developed all the way. They just messed up their own entire case. And because of the boys allegedly raped 2 other girls after that. But it's a long story with that. So with that being said, when he said he would take my son's case because I did all of the work, he just needed to stand up in court and just present it. The 2 women that was with me, they came up with $2,000. And that's what helped me. So if that answered the question of the doubt, and I felt like it was kind of like my fault because my kids didn't want to move to Georgia. We moved here from the Mississippi coast. We were living a good life. I wanted to move here from a domestic violence situation that I was in. So I wanted my sons to be safe. So I moved us here thinking that it would be better for us, and it didn't. It actually got worse. Because the next year, my son was accused of a rape he didn't commit. So I kind of felt like it was my fault. Like my family said, I didn't have to be homeless. They were trying to send me back. My ex-husband was too. I felt like it was my fault that my baby was here. So I didn't leave the state. I said, I'm not leaving the state until they free my son. I don't care if I got to sleep in roach hotels, my car, people couches to pay them until I can get everything together. Cause I'm not leaving my son. So that's where my doubt came in, where I was like, okay, God, are you real? What's going on? Do you hear me? I'm darn near about to take my life to save my baby life. You have to send some more help, because I don't know what else to do. So I just kept trusting in Yahweh, and I kept praying to him and Yahshua, which is Jesus and Jehovah and the Holy Ghost. And I just kept praying. And I'm telling you, as long as y'all keep God close, he could turn it all around. He real, so that's my advice to y'all, if that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much for sharing. It just imagine talking about if I do this, not even knowing that life insurance doesn't work that way, but you were willing to do anything. And again, when you're doubting yourself, I think something I heard you say is the financial part. Financial part can cause someone to doubt themselves, because how can I do it? Where can I find this? What do I need to do to get this money to be able to have a good lawyer,
Yep,
to be able to? And so some of the things we don't know how the Most High does. He does it because if He had not allowed you to go through this, you wouldn't have started your organization. You
that's
wouldn't have
right.
done. I hate to just be that bearer of that news that I'm going through certain things, and I know He is preparing me. What He's putting you through is a preparation for where He
That's
wants
right.
you. And if you don't take that with grace and enjoy that process, you will miss the joy of being thy rod and thy staff comforts me.
You know what my son said to me, Dr. Chichi?
What did
It
he say?
had me crying so bad. I went to see him at the prison he at now. He said, Mama, I'm proud of you. He said, if I had to go through everything that I'm going through now for you to be who you are today, he said, I'll go through it all again just so you could be the leader that you are. Because he said it wasn't really me that's really needing it. He said it's other youth. But we had our family. This is what he said. Our family had to go through this so you can be the leader that you are, Mama.
Wow.
And he
Wow.
said, and I'll do it all over again so you can be who you are. He said, you strong. But he don't know that I thought about taking my life for him.
Yeah.
He don't know that, because it's back to, we have to protect our youth incarcerated mental health. If I was to tell him something like that, he'll lose it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the 18-wheeler hit me 10 months ago, almost took me out. I got the footage. And look how I'm still here. Not only that I'm still here, I'm still walking, and I'm able to help families still that need me. I'm here on a mission,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's
Yes.
not mine.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is amazing. Dr. Florida, do you want to take that question on? Tell me a little bit about self-doubt and what parents should be doing when they have a youth that's incarcerated to deal with self-doubt.
Well, I think, like everything, one of the things when we're experiencing something that we've never experienced before, right? And where we're surrounded by people who empathize with us or feel for us, but don't really cannot fully empathize because they're not going through it. It's difficult. It's lonely, right? And when you don't know what resources out there are available, you feel desperate. Like, you like, like this is your baby. Like hurt me, but don't touch mine, right? And so having those resources like Ms. Suggs, organization, and like in families advocating for campus equality, having those resources, and us, we have a responsibility, I believe, that we need to get the word out there more so. Say, hey, there's these resources out there to help you and support you in this process, because it is a painful process. I don't care. It is devastating. It rocks your world. And if you don't have people like a tribe of people who have gone through it, that can be your armor bearers and say, I know what you're going through. I've been through it. We're going to get through this together. It is very lonely. It is very painful and very discouraging at times, because every time you think you're making a headway, something else pops up, right? And you're like, are you kidding me? It's like Miss Suggs. She said, well, the DNA is going to come back and it's going to show that he didn't do this, right? It came it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So the reality needs to sink in. It doesn't matter. So you need to know how to fight, but you don't know because you don't go to school to learn how to fight that fight. Right. They don't put the playbook on how to fight that fight. Maybe we need to come up with the playbook, Ms. Suggs. Okay.
Look, yeah. I got it. I created the whole program. I've
go.
Never had a judge tell me no on one youth case.
There you go.
Since I've been in this movement.
So we need to get that playbook out. Like really, we need it. So we as mothers, regardless of what we're doing in our lives, regardless of our careers, our businesses, whatever, we have something in common, which we're mothers. So we as mothers have the responsibility to get this resource out. Okay, so I'm going to be inviting you pretty soon to do a talk, Ms. Suggs. Okay, because we have to get it out there, because our community needs it. We as mothers need it. Fathers need it to help their children. Parents need it for children, because the kids are ill prepared. My son was ill prepared. He's like, "What are you talking about?" And he called me. He's like, "Mom, they're accusing me of this." I'm like, "Stop talking. Don't say one more word. I'm on my way." Okay, and that's important. Like you have to be willing to just give up everything, because this fight is going to take everything that you have. It's an everyday fight until it's done. Every day. There was not one day that I wasn't fighting through this process. Okay. And so it's a commitment, but that's what it takes. But when you have the resources that Ms. Suggs has, and other organizations and mothers like ourselves sitting down talking and say, hey, what you're going through, like suck it up, like this is not going to work this way, this is how it's going to work, so let's pivot. Okay, that is what it's going to take. We got to get out there, and I'm glad you brought up the crime bill, because that's exactly what kicked it off. And people saying all this great thing, but this is what has our kids in this pipeline. Okay, this is what has a pipeline. So when you go out there and vote, folks, just understand who you're voting for. That's all I got to say, because this is what created this pipeline.
Okay. And I'm in discussion with Governor Kemp's administration now for some months on that bill, by the way, with their legislator that's over this entire state. Because even though we could continue to advocate and do the work, we have to start with the actual law. So once we can amend, meaning it's not going to be dismantled, but we need to make it to where it's not as crucial as it is. And to piggyback what you stated, that's why I have a for-profit and a nonprofit. So normally for these type of cases, I charge $10,000 per case, but families can't afford me. So that's why I created the Almost Lost in the System Incorporated for the families. Nobody should have to go to prison for the rest of their life or be accused of something they didn't commit, because they can't afford proper representation. So Correct. That's why I have a for-profit and a nonprofit. So for the families that experience, meaning I was able to kind of like afford it a bit, but I had to lose everything. You kind of get it? So that's why my organization have partners that help with food, shelter, anything that you could think of. My organization and our partners assist with it. Anything from employment to food to
and it's
shelter.
almost lost in the system.org.
Yes, ma'am. Almost lost in the system.org. So
I put that in the chat.
Yeah, so if we can't help, our partners got you. You're not going to ever reach out to my organization and don't get no help, because that's how I set it up. And I don't allow no leaders to come into my organization if they're not going to help.
Right.
I just don't.
Right. They can provide resources through their relationships to get
Yes,
things
ma'am.
done. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Lanetta, do you have anything to add about the doubt, the self-doubt that, self-doubt is a killer. It will kill dreams and goals. We were just talking about in general, but when we not talk about youth incarceration, self-doubt could be one of the biggest thing that fights. It's almost like self-sabotage that fights the parent themselves. What would you share with parents to help them with self-doubt?
You just gotta like fight through the tears, because that's like one of the most painful things about the whole process is somebody having your baby and you not having access to your child. You just gotta fight through them tears, and you gotta turn that anger into aggressiveness towards the situation that's at hand to get your baby back. I mean, and it's gonna be a lot of tears. I cried every day.
Every day.
So to be put into that position where you cry every single day because it's a wrongdoing, or you don't know what's going on with yours, you have to continuously stay in prayer. Just clear your mind so you can, so that the spirit can tell you what steps you might need to take. And another thing that helped me through is when I was going through it, Florida had just been through it, and her encouraging words, like if you can find a sisterhood or somebody that knows exactly what you're talking about and knows exactly how you're feeling, you know what I'm saying? That helps. That does comfort a lot.
Thank you so much for saying that. I'm going to recommend a group. There's a group on Facebook, Fearless Visionaries, and some of us are active there. But if you drop a note that you're looking for help, somebody will probably respond to what you're needing, because one of the things, the issues that people have in groups is just not getting anybody to respond to what you need. But when Lanetta told me of her issue, I brought her into that group and I introduced her quickly to Dr. Florida. So a good friend of mine said, you're 3-4 people away from who you need. So you just need to communicate with someone, and look at the links in the chat. In the live chat, it's going to be on YouTube at Chi_movies, our YouTube page. This video will be up front and center. We're going to mark it as our favorite, our like. It's going to be one of our Women International Month programs that we put together that is important for people to just recognize the value of knowing. What you know can change. The Bible says, like, people perish for lack of knowledge. So if you don't know, you don't know. But if you want to know, you can know through connecting with the right folks that have been through it, or the right organization that can help you. So I want to thank everyone. Does anyone have any final words to say before we finish our live today? Thank you. Thank you so much.
I do. I just want to say to everyone that's listening, even if I said it before, I don't mind repeating it. All families, according to the U.S. Constitution, you have a right to remain silent. If you unsure about how you should proceed, whether you did something or not, I'm not telling you to hide or keep it in. You are entitled to an attorney. So when you're in a situation, or your youth is in a situation, even at their mom, I had a lot of moms do this to the youth, where the moms get to talking and everything, and I'm like, why? To them, you're your voice for your youth. Even if they're charging your youth as an adult, or if they keeping them in the jurisdiction for the youth, right? That doesn't mean anything. They're going to take what that parent says too, and even have that parent as a witness. So with that being said, even with the children in the school, if you teach your children, whomever you speak it to, whatever you say, if something going on, ask the principal, ask the teacher, can you call your mom? Teach your kids to call you and to trust you and build that rapport with your child. And that'll help eliminate the school to prison pipeline.
School to prison pipeline. That's the title of a book.
Oh, that could be, but that's not the title of mine. But
I know that's the title of a book, because if you look at it, like what happened to Lanetta, her son made a statement in school, and I've met him. He's very bold, so he's not afraid to answer a question should you ask him? He's not timid. He's not going to be like, I can't answer you. So the teacher probably said, what does that statement mean? And he said, everybody wear blue tomorrow. You know, what is the problem? Not knowing that this someone's going to take this and they're going to make a big deal about it. It's going to change your life forever.
That's right.
So, but it's a statement you made. And now from the school, she's getting a call and they're taking him straight to wherever because he said something. He's a certain age. So they got to do what they got to do that the law has allowed them to do.
That's right.
You know,
and that's the FERPA laws. So read the FERPA laws. Okay. I had to read the FERPA laws because I'm going to tell y'all something about South Gwinnett High School. I'll ask them, y'all got cameras everywhere. How y'all was allowing my son and his co-defendants to skip school every day and these girls and these boys to go in the woods to have sex? So it was a bunch of girls, by the way, and a bunch of boys in the woods that day. And some of them was actually having sex in the woods for real. You see what I'm saying? So my thing is, how are y'all allowing our youth to leave out of the building when we and I drop my son off every day. So I'm dropping my son and I'm signing him into y'all. How is y'all allowing him to leave out? You see, so it's just a lot. He was going straight from the school to the woods or straight from the school to wherever the boys was having him meet. So it's just crazy. So to eliminate school to prison pipeline, we have to have that pep talk with our kids every day before they go to school, whether it's going to work or not, or allow them to attend some events of mine or to speak to some of the male leaders in my organization. They'll think twice about skipping school and doing anything bad once they hear from us.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone else want to add anything else? If not, we are going to come to a close. I'm so grateful for everyone that gets a chance to watch this video. We love you guys. Happy women.
Love you
International
too.
Women.
Thank you.
We are women of power. We are women full of love. We are women that must share our pain as we turn our pain into purpose, passion. Dr. Florida has a book out already. It's Tear the Veil on Amazon. If you want to, hear more about her story, go get a copy. Drop her a note on Amazon about what this did for you as you read it. And, these stories are important. Our stories are important. That's why the Bible and many other books have been written, because the history of what we're going through is important. So if you're interested in working on your book, we have some connections at Chi Chi Movies that can help you with your book. Our company, the slogan is where we film your story. So if you want to turn a book into a movie, if you need to film something, and we, in the proximity, we have many relationships all over the U.S. from Michigan to Atlanta to and Florida to Houston to Texas. We can get a video crew to film. You package it and get it out. Sometimes local news may not pick it up, like Lanetta went through. Luckily for Miss Martin-Suggs, Channel 2 picked it up, but not everybody gets that lucky. Call a media company, reach out to us. Let's see how we can help you, connect you with someone local in that city to put something together, because sometimes that footage, the fact that a camera is turned on, it wakes people up to where they become aware of accountability. They start saying, well, I know I can't do this or that because someone's got a camera on me, and they will see that as the, attorney for the kid or whatever the case may be, Lanetta, and what we were filming, it was just so many questions she had. And I didn't know anything about the case, but I could smell foul play. As soon as we said we were turning cameras on, put a video out, it were people that started behaving themselves, because now someone was paying attention, asking them questions, and someone was recording, and they could not, she told them, I'm documenting everything you're doing. And it sort of woke them up, because they were going to keep doing this unless somebody was documenting it. So please take action. Take action. This is a season of taking action. Pray, stay prayed up. Be close to your makers, because you need to be on a spiritual level to to fight things that physically happen on earth.
Mhm.
I'm so grateful for all of you that tuned in. We're at Chi Movies, where we film your story. We're grateful that you tuned in to watch this video. We'll see you next time during this Women's International Month. We're going to have a handful of events that talk to families that are serious topics. So not everything's fancy and flowery, but we're grateful to our guest, Dr. Florida. Thank you so much for taking out your wonderful Saturday, all the way hailing from New York. Lanetta, thank you so much, all the way from Michigan, for dropping by and just sharing your heart with folks. And my wonderful sister here in Atlanta, thank you so much, Ms. Martin-Suggs, for sharing and for doing the work you've done. All of you, thank you for your story, for what you've
Welcome. Thank you.
And we are better because you guys fought, because you took action. We are a better community. We are a better society because you took action. You didn't lie down. You didn't take it lying down. You didn't say, it's okay. You said no. And you said, I'm going to take my freedom and victory by force, and you have it today. And I'm so grateful to share the stage with you guys. I'm your host, Chi Styles. Follow us on social media, Chi_movies, on Instagram, on YouTube, and on Facebook, and check out all the work we're doing in our community to try to spotlight you via Chi TV. Once again, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And to our viewers, God bless you all.
God bless.
God bless.